Hello, my name is Ellie, and if you would like to tap into the frequency of abundance and ease your suffering, welcome. Suffering is something that all humans will experience here on Earth in various forms. And often we have this belief that we should not be suffering, that we should not experience challenge. And this belief is false. There is a great contrast here on Earth, and regardless of how enlightened you are, how high you raise your consciousness, you will be presented with challenges and you will experience physical and emotional pain. So an awareness that we can bring to this and stop fighting against the fact that we will experience challenges and suffering will in itself reduce our suffering. But 90% of the suffering that we experience is the mental suffering that we have by the ego and identifying with the ego. So all the thoughts that we are experiencing, we experience thoughts. We don't always create thoughts. We can consciously create thoughts, but the majority of our thoughts we are receiving, we are not doing. And this is the ego. And the more that we identify with this ego, the more we suffer. And the more that we can disidentify, in contrast with the ego, the more peace that we will find, even in challenging situations. Before I had my spiritual awakening, I was a worrier. I was always worrying about things that might happen. And I think I thought that if I thought about these things and went over them again and again in my mind, that I was going to be more prepared for them. But that was not the case. What was actually happening was that I was foregoing the peace that I could have had in that moment. And I was living trapped inside my mind, inside this future terrible scenario that could happen, when in fact nothing was happening in that moment. In that moment, I was probably sitting in a room just like I am now and breathing air and feeling the temperature control of the environment, and there was no immediate danger. But because I was fully identified with the ego, I was basically living that. I was trapped in this terrible future circumstance that wasn't even happening. So when we can start to understand that, wow, our ego, these thoughts that we're hearing, when we identify with them, we actually are living in that scenario, whatever it is that we're thinking of. Maybe the thought is that we're not good enough. And when we agree with that thought and we identify with it as truth, then we are living that. Then we become and we embody that unworthiness. But actually, none of that is true. Those thoughts that we are having, the majority of the time, are not true and are trapping us in a prison of unhappiness and preventing us from living the life that we could be living, a peaceful life. So a practice that you can start doing is when you hear a thought, you can acknowledge the thought and you don't have to identify with it. You can say, oh, that was a thought, instead of feeding into the thought, yes, oh yes, it's true, this could happen and this person could do this to me. Just bring your attention, your full awareness back into the room, wherever you are. What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you see? What do you smell? Focus on your breath and really bring your full awareness into the present moment. What is happening right now? Because we don't have to identify with this mental construct. And when we really, really, truly bring awareness to this, this is an abundance of freedom. You are finally in a place where you can begin to live a peaceful life, recognizing all the abundance in your life. Because while you're trapped in that story in the mind of what could be happening or what is happening or what you believe people are thinking about you, all these things, you are not in a state of an abundance. You are not in a peaceful, blissful state, but you have control over that. All you have to do is awaken to the knowledge, the knowing that you are not those thoughts. You are the observer experiencing those thoughts. And this is powerful. This is a powerful way to disidentify with the ego and to choose peace for yourself. When people say, oh, you have to choose happiness, happiness is a choice, you might have heard this. This is how it's a choice, because you do not have to engage with the ego. And when you do, when you start engaging in that worry, you are strengthening that ego and you are gaining momentum on worrying, and you will find more and more and more things to worry about. But when you disidentify and say, oh, that's my ego, no, I'm going to refocus my intention onto the blue sky right now. I'm about to go for a walk, and that's great. And I'm fully bringing myself back here into the moment. You can free yourself from this prison of suffering, and you can lessen your suffering. The majority of the time, if you really are honest with yourself, when something is happening, it isn't what's actually happening to you that's causing you the suffering. It's what your mind is saying that it means about you, about your future, about what people feel about you, about your worthiness. This is what's causing you the suffering. So if you can just disengage from all of that, someone said this to you, okay, well, I'm not a mind reader. It's not my responsibility to change how people feel about me or to worry about what people are feeling about me. I'm just going to bring myself back to the present moment, to the here and now, which is all that I really have. And this is the life-giving availability to me to exist in this present moment. And it isn't going to be helpful to me to engage in this loop of ego where I'm trying to figure out what is happening with that person's mind and what's going to happen in the future. This is just a complete waste of my time. So this knowledge is powerful, powerful. I wish you so much luck on your journey. I wish you abundance, abundance of finances, abundance of peace, and abundance of awe for this life, this paradise where we live here on earth. It's a beautiful spring day. I hope you enjoy it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will connect with you so soon. Thank you.